Book summary: Outwitting the Devil. Napoleon Hill. Have you ever felt trapped in an endless cycle of doubt, fear, and indecision, as if something invisible were controlling your every step? Have you noticed that no matter how hard you try to change your life, something always pulls you back into stagnation? Procrastination and that nagging sense that you are not living your full potential. This is exactly the point where Napoleon Hill wants to take us in this book, and it is also where the transformation begins. The author presents an imaginary, yet profoundly symbolic interview with the devil, a vivid representation of the internal and external forces that keep people from thriving. Here, we are not talking about a supernatural being, but about a set of mental habits, limiting beliefs, and distractions that dominate the minds of the majority. In this opening section, you will discover the main mental traps that keep us from growing, why so many people live on autopilot, and how the devil uses fear, doubt, and indecision as tools to keep you under control. More than that, you will understand how to identify these traps in your own life and start dismantling them step by step. And of course, before we go any further, if this content is already making sense to you and has sparked that curiosity to dig deeper, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave your like, because that ensures you will keep receiving content that goes straight to the point of your personal development. Napoleon Hill introduces the concept of drifting, or mental drift, which is the state of living without a clear direction, letting circumstances decide the course of your life. This is the devil's primary weapon, keeping people busy, distracted, and reactive, with no time or energy to think critically and consciously about what they really want. And here comes one of the first practical lessons every human being who lacks a definiteness of purpose and a firm mental discipline is, in some way, being controlled. The author further explores how fear is used as a powerful mechanism of control. Fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of illness, fear of losing love, fear of old age, and fear of death. These 6 major categories subtly shape our decisions and behaviors. The most alarming part is realizing how these fears are fed daily by the media, the education system, and even the conversations we have. But Hill does not stop at pointing out the problem. He also delivers the keys to breaking this cycle. One of them is developing independent thinking. This means questioning ready-made narratives, establishing a clear goal-setting practice, and building self-discipline. These are the weapons that weaken the devil's control and give you back command over your own mind. As we dive deeper into the revelations of this interview, we realize that the battle is internal. The devil is not outside, but inside each of us, manifesting in our doubts, laziness, distractions, and negative habits. Perhaps the most impactful lesson of this first section is understanding that every thought we allow to enter and settle in our minds is a seed that will grow, for good or for bad. From here, we will explore how to create a mental shield against these negative influences. This shield is built with knowledge, mental freedom, and deliberate action. At every step, we will learn to replace fear with confidence, doubt with decision, and indecision with consistent action. It is a profound change that requires constant vigilance, but it opens the door to a level of freedom few people ever experience. Optimized insights: the devil symbolizes internal and external forces that control those who live without purpose. Drifting is the lack of clear direction that leaves the mind vulnerable. Fear is used as a manipulation tool in 6 main forms. Independent thinking and self-discipline are the keys to escaping control. And now, before moving to the next section, I want you to imagine how your life would be if you could identify and neutralize every thought that limits you today. In the next part, we will enter the devil's mind to understand his most subtle strategies, and that is where you will discover how to turn the game in your favor once and for all. As we move forward in the intense dialogue between Napoleon Hill and the devil, the author dives even deeper into the analysis of the invisible forces shaping our destiny. The devil continues to reveal how he manipulates people's minds. And the central theme now is mental control, not in a mystical sense, but in a practical, psychological way. He exposes that most people live in what he calls a habit of drifting, acting on impulse with no clarity of goals, no defined plan, and no control over their own thoughts. This state of drifting is the fertile soil for planting doubt, fear, and procrastination. And it is in exactly this mental environment that he thrives. Hill, recognizing the impact of these revelations, seeks to understand the tools to break this cycle and achieve mental freedom. The devil describes his greatest asset: making people easily distracted, giving in to momentary pleasures, outside opinions, and irrelevant worries. A life without goal setting, excessive exposure to negative information, and constant interaction with pessimistic people creates the perfect breeding ground for stagnation. This connects directly to the reader's real pain, living an entire life feeling you could have done more, yet being held back by inner forces you don't always know how to identify. It is here that Hill begins to formulate the importance of definiteness, of purpose, and self-discipline as antidotes to drifting. The narrative gains strength when Hill explains that once you decide with clarity what you want to achieve and keep that vision alive in your mind, you begin to build a shield against distractions. The devil, reluctantly, admits that it is almost impossible to influence someone who has a defined purpose and works consistently toward it. The lesson here is clear. If you want to become immune to the forces that pull you off track, you must train your mind daily to stay focused on what matters even when life tries to pull you in every direction. Hill also begins to address the control your mind principle in practice, writing down your goals, visualizing them every day, and breaking them down into actionable steps. The devil confesses that people who maintain this habit become nearly impenetrable because their minds are constantly occupied with constructive thoughts. This not only strengthens discipline, but also fuels enthusiasm, another powerful weapon against fear and doubt. Another crucial point is the influence of environment. Hill asks the devil how he gets so many people to give up on their dreams. And the answer is clear: by manipulating the environment they live in. By surrounding a person with defeatist, unbelieving individuals, they inevitably absorb that mental pattern. Hill emphasizes the need to choose your company carefully, avoiding prolonged contact with anyone who does not add value or share your purpose. The author also stresses controlling mental input, avoiding sensationalist news, toxic conversations, and excessive shallow entertainment. Instead, invest time in reading, continuous learning, and productive conversations. This strengthens the mind and keeps the focus on personal growth and self-improvement. Finally, Hill reinforces that fear is the devil's most powerful weapon, and that he feeds on all types: fear of poverty, criticism, illness, old age, loss of love, and death. By recognizing and consciously facing these fears, it is possible to neutralize them and prevent them from becoming invisible barriers. Optimized insights, clear objectives act as a shield against distractions and negative influences. The environment and company you keep directly shape your mental patterns. Controlling mental input is essential for maintaining focus and motivation. Facing fears head-on strips them of their power to paralyze. If you think you already understand how to maintain control over your mind, wait until you discover in the next chapter how the devil uses the very structure of the educational and cultural systems to program people to live without thinking for themselves. After exploring in depth how mental control, goal setting, and the environment shape a person's destiny, Napoleon Hill guides the conversation toward an even more revealing territory: systemic manipulation. Pressed by Hill's incisive questions, the devil admits that one of his most effective strategies for keeping people in the habit of drifting is influencing the very structure of the educational and cultural systems. He confesses that he encourages teaching methods focused on memorization and repetition rather than critical thinking and creativity. The result? Individuals who may be obedient workers but are incapable of making independent decisions. This system produces adults who work hard but rarely question if they are on the right path for their own fulfillment. Hill observes that by conditioning people to fear mistakes and value compliance over curiosity, the system strengthens mental passivity. This directly connects to one of the audience's greatest frustrations: the feeling of living life on autopilot, fulfilling others' expectations while neglecting personal dreams. When asked about an ideal educational model, the devil, reluctantly, describes one that would include teaching self-discipline, time management, emotional intelligence, personal finance, and social skills. These lessons would be combined with early encouragement for young people to define clear life goals. Hill reinforces that we must seek ongoing self-education, not depending solely on traditional institutions. The discussion then shifts to personal freedom. The devil explains that the easiest people to control are those who surrender their autonomy in exchange for apparent security, a job they dislike but that pays the bills, or a routine that offers comfort but steals enthusiasm. The message is clear. True freedom requires calculated risks, the courage to face uncertainty, and the will to think for oneself. Another admission from the devil is the power of habit. He describes creating invisible chains from small, daily actions until they become automatic behaviors. Negative mental and emotional habits, such as constant complaining, procrastination, and blaming others, weaken willpower and strengthen his hold. Hill counters with the idea of consciously replacing bad habits with positive ones until they become second nature. The devil also reveals that one of the fastest ways to make someone lose control is by triggering exaggerated emotional reactions: anger, envy, fear. Once emotions override reason, manipulation becomes easy. Therefore, cultivating calm and balance, especially in adversity, is one of the strongest protections against negative influence. By the end of this section, Hill gathers all revelations into a powerful truth. The greatest enemy is not the external devil, but the internal one. The voice of doubt, the lack of clarity, the fear of acting. Mastering these internal forces makes you practically untouchable. Optimized insights. Traditional education often prepares people to obey, not to think. Personal freedom demands courage, risk-taking, and independent thought. Habits, good or bad, grow stronger with repetition. Choose them wisely. Emotional self-control is essential to avoid manipulation. This part of Outwitting the Devil has already sparked ideas for your own transformation. Don't just stop here. Subscribe to the channel and share this content with someone who needs to break free from mental chains. Together, we can build a movement of people committed to personal growth, self-improvement, and mental freedom. From this point forward, Napoleon Hill focuses on turning insights into actionable strategies. He makes it clear that knowing about the devil's tactics is not enough. The real transformation happens when you deliberately replace drifting with purposeful living. Hill emphasizes the concept of definiteness of purpose as the foundation of all personal achievement. Without a clearly defined goal, your mind becomes an open field for outside influences to plant seeds of doubt and distraction. The devil himself concedes that individuals with a well-defined purpose are far harder to manipulate, as their attention and energy are fully committed to their chosen direction. To cultivate this, Hill recommends daily goal-setting rituals. Write down your main objectives. Visualize them in detail every morning and evening. Break them down into actionable steps. These simple yet powerful actions create mental momentum and train the subconscious to focus on solutions rather than problems. Over time, this builds self-discipline, enthusiasm, and resilience. The author also revisits the power of mental input control. Every piece of information you consume either strengthens or weakens your ability to act. By consciously filtering books, conversations, and media, you create a protective shield around your mind. This is the essence of mental freedom, the ability to choose what occupies your thoughts. Hill warns that the world is full of triggers designed to provoke fear, uncertainty, and anger. He explains that by staying calm under pressure, you prevent emotional hijacking and keep your decision-making power intact. This is not about avoiding challenges, but facing them with clarity and composure. A recurring theme here is the habit of drifting as the silent killer of dreams. Hill underlines that drifting can be disguised as busyness, a packed schedule with no real progress toward your personal development goals. The cure is intentionality, making sure every action you take is aligned with your ultimate purpose. The devil admits that his influence weakens drastically when people take consistent, purposeful action, regardless of fear or uncertainty. This is why Hill insists on daily habits that reinforce your vision, because repetition builds permanence, and permanence builds strength. As this section nears its conclusion, Hill connects the dots. The pathway to freedom is built on clear goals, disciplined action, and unwavering focus. Without these, the mind defaults to passivity, becoming a playground for doubt and fear. With them, you take back control of your destiny. Optimized insight's definiteness of purpose is the foundation of true freedom. Goal-setting rituals train your mind for focus and action. Controlling mental input is key to maintaining mental freedom. Drifting often hides behind the illusion of being busy. If these ideas are resonating with you, take one small step today toward your personal growth. Write down your top goal, read it aloud, and commit to one action that moves you closer. Change starts the moment you decide to act, not tomorrow, but now. As the dialogue between Napoleon Hill and the devil reaches its conclusion, the author consolidates the most impactful revelations into a clear, actionable message. Every person faces a choice to live consciously, guided by a definiteness of purpose, or to remain at the mercy of external influences and the habit of drifting. Hill emphasizes that the real enemy is not an external figure, but the internal devil, the voice of self-doubt, the fog of indecision, and the fear that freezes action. Mastering these inner forces is the ultimate step toward mental freedom and true personal growth. He revisits the 7 principles that, when applied consistently, weaken the devil's hold. 1. Definiteness of purpose, a clear life direction. 2. Mastery over self-disciplined thoughts and actions. 3. Learning from adversity, turning setbacks into lessons. 4. Control over environmental influences, choosing relationships and surroundings wisely. 5. Time management, using each moment purposefully. 6. Harmony in human relationships, fostering cooperation and trust. 7. Caution, making decisions based on facts, not fear. The devil reluctantly acknowledges that those who live by these principles are nearly impossible to control. They develop the strength to resist manipulation, the clarity to set and pursue goals, and the resilience to overcome inevitable challenges. Hill warns that living with intention is not a one-time decision, but a daily commitment, just as bad. Habits grow stronger through repetition, so do positive ones. Your mental state tomorrow will be shaped by the thoughts and actions you choose today. In the final moments of the book, the call is direct. Take ownership of your mind, your time, and your purpose. Do not wait for the perfect moment, it will never come. Freedom is built one decision at a time, starting now. Optimized insights, the greatest enemy is the internal devil, self-doubt, and fear. Living by the 7 principles builds immunity to manipulation. Freedom is the result of intentional daily action. Every thought you allow shapes your future. If this summary of Outwitting the Devil, Napoleon Hill opened your eyes to the subtle yet powerful ways influence and manipulation operate in your daily life, now is the time to act. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Here, you will find more than summaries. You will find real strategies to transform your mindset and achieve total autonomy. And remember, explore our other content because we have valuable lessons in many areas to accelerate your development and strengthen your independence, both mental and emotional.